Hey, this is Jamey with Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in Fort. Fort is, at its core, a deck building game where you are kind of building a deck, not gaining a ton of cards during the game, or not increasing the size of your deck during the game, for a reason that I'll mention in a second. And you're also gathering stuff. You're gaining literally stuff, toys, and pizza as resources on these nice dual-layered player mats, and upgrading your fort, and upgrading your lookout over here with other cards. Fort does something really, really interesting that I don't think I've seen it before in another game, which is that the cards that you don't play on your turn enter an area called your yard, and they sit out there until your next turn. And this is really interesting because it means that when other players are ready to recruit a new friend to their fort, to their deck during their turn, and you must do this once per turn, you must obtain a new recruit once per turn. Not only are they looking at the shared row of cards in the middle of the table, but they're also looking at the cards that other players didn't play. They're looking at the yards of the other players. And so you're kind of looking around the board to see, okay, what benefits me the most, and is there a really powerful card that someone else didn't play for whatever reason on their turn that I kind of want to take away from them. And I want that card to join my fort for at least a few turns until maybe they end up in your yard as well. It's a really nice level of interaction in the game, I found. And one of the reasons I think this mechanism works so well in Fort is on your turn you can only play one card. And so out of a hand of 5 cards, normally that would mean that 4 cards would end up in your yard. However, you have 2 best friends. They have little stars on them, and your best friends can never end up in your yard. They end up automatically going to your discard pile if you don't play them, or if you do play them. So that's helpful. You always have those cards. You can count on those cards. You can count on your best friends. But you also, you can use some of the cards in your hand as multiplicative effects. So certain cards say, like, if you play this card, you can also discard any number of cards with a specific icon, and that can make the played card better. And so in that way, even though I have 4 cards that I'm not playing, maybe one of them is a best friend. They go into the discard pile. And maybe one of those other cards has the same icon as the card I'm playing, and that the card I'm playing happens to have a multiplicative effect. And so I can pile that onto the same card, make the card that I play better, and end up only having to put 2 cards in my yard. It is still a key choice there because I'm deciding, okay, these cards are going to be vulnerable for a little while. I am making them eligible for other players to take, but you can kind of craft your deck around the idea that you put as few cards as possible up there, and the cards that you do put up there, maybe you don't actually even want them in your deck. Maybe you're hoping someone else will take them because you want to get other specific cards that actually play off of some of those other cards in your deck with the multiplicative effects. I think it's just a really clever mechanism. I haven't seen that in another game, and I like the idea of broadening. I like the type of player interaction it adds, and I like the idea that it broadens the field of cards that you can select beyond just the traditional card row in a deck building game. So yeah, that is my favorite mechanism in Fort. If you can think of another game that does this, I'd love to hear another example. Perhaps that is not the only game that has a mechanism like this. Or if you have a different favorite mechanism in Fort, I'd love to hear about that as well. Thanks.